we see how much the prescribed philosophy of libertarianism contradicts itself too many times. A perfect example: libertarians, the way to go is to privatize everything, privatization as the most efficient and socially optimal outcome for the benefit of society, when in opposite that does not happen. And how many times do we see that there are so much socially not desirable outcomes that come from privatization? For example, when school is only a matter of privilege and those who can't afford the schooling, it's still subsidized by the government. That is a example where the government helps the people, and it's a perfect example. Healthcare, for example, where if everybody's paying into the healthcare, then everybody's paying into it, and so each person is paying less per person individually, and that's what matters when people are not subjected to the liberty of paying into the private insurance. And it's so crazy to me that the libertarian right wing Koch brother way thing to go is to absolutely worship the privatization of everything, that government and taxation is bad. And this was all billionaire paid, funded interest groups from the outside. Freedom Works wasn't this grassroots movement. It was funded by billionaires. Foundation of Economic Education, Fortune 500 companies in America, for example. Freedom Works and American for Prosperity, funded by the Koch brothers and the billionaires. Just get to pay as less tax as possible and have no government programs at all, and let's repeal almost all forms of taxation except for the militia and the fire and the police departments. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Why have government then? Why have bad government? It has everything to do with the billionaire influence of government. I just don't get the libertarian thought solution that, oh, the big bad private Federal Reserve is the problem of everything, but everything else private is good to go. Well, except for the private Federal Reserve Bank. The libertarians do have a problem with privatization if they have a problem with the Federal Reserve Bank. Libertarians do. They do have a problem with privatization. They contradict their whole philosophy. We are against the private Federal Reserve. Hello, privatization seeks to unleash all barriers of government regulation over the marketplace. That's to ensure fairness and equity all throughout. That's what the government here for is to do. And that is a fact. Because that is the biggest pathway to freedom, is that we have a regulated, well oversight marketplace that ensures fairness in this society. That is to ensure that everybody's voice is being represented. That is why we have marketplaces. This broadband Wi-Fi infrastructure would be able to satisfy that when people have more options to navigate when going through the internet, including the freedom of choice. I think that's something that the Biden infrastructure plan can do so well. I don't get this whole infatuation with privatization, because Obamacare was from a conservative heritage think tank. Healthcare plan was pretty much what was Obamacare. The problem with Obamacare is that it's owned by the private insurance companies. That's why progressives do not like the healthcare system. You see how the libertarian argument so hold up. Privatization really is not the most socially optimal outcome in our society. Not every outcome in the free marketplace is going to produce the most socially optimal outcome. If you have the prisons operate outside the government, well, the prisons have more of an incentive to lock people up and infringe on their liberties for the sake of profit. That's why the private prisons are one of the most dangerous industries to America, because they're infringing on people's liberties for non-violent crime. is what the private prison industry is doing to America. In this 4 wars for propaganda, for example, and it helps a weapons manufacturer group that benefits from having the weapons used in war. How do you think Donald Trump owned the Raytheon, and Trump had the Raytheon strikes, and Joe Biden had his own Syria strike too early on his presidency? That's one thing that is happening, that that they're both the same. But I think my libertarian friends don't understand how bad privatization is if the private Federal Reserve Bank is infringing on our liberties because it is a corrupted private institution that should be a national banking system, but the notes on the Federal Reserve notes don't say United States note of America. Your dollar will say Federal Reserve notes. Your dollar will. It will say Federal Reserve note in a nutshell. And I believe I should have some money in there, and I guess not. Well, it's because I placed my wages in for parties like Joe Biden today, and but I used to own United States notes. I think my United States note should be here somewhere. A United States note is issued by the Treasury, whereas the Federal Reserve note is issued as property of the Federal Reserve, but issued to the United States Treasury, issued as debt created, with interest attached to it at year end every single year. That's what keeps the United States go around, is the Zionist banking cabal. So we are owned by the international banking cable of elites. This form of privatization corrupts America. We work for private international bankers. Well, the bailouts went to the international bankers with the help of Alex Jones, I believe, and some other people, despite my big disagreement with Alex Jones that the Obama bailout was exposed to light. The Bush-Obama bailout, you can call it. I mean, it was both at the same time. And I have many problems with today's so-called liberals, that they're just henchmen for the global elite society. I gotta wonder how serious to take Joe Biden if you even negotiate down to 25% for the corporate tax rate. Joe Biden's going to cut taxes for everybody, including the wealthy. And Joe Biden will be bad for America. Joe Biden would be trying to run America on credit if that is the case. And that is where the Federal Reserve comes into play, is that when you are taking on more spending than you are before, whether financed by tax cuts or spending, you are going to have to be able to borrow from the Federal Reserve Bank. And I feel that when you have a corporate Democrat like Joe Biden, that he's going to want to finance it by borrowing. If he's going to fund the billionaire banker credit industry that he's been a part of with many of his credit card companies, establishing company headquarters in Delaware, for example. There's some of the things that they shake my head about Joe Biden about, is that he's getting into the banking industry in this way. And we're not looking for working class relief, but we're looking to pay for this stuff with our own money from taxation for the billionaires and not credit from the bank. And so I think Joe Biden has betrayed the people in that element of this. I'm not happy about Joe Biden at all about this infrastructure plan. I feel that we've done a nice job with the COVID relief, but I do feel that you need to take on a big chunk of the infrastructure bill on actual spending of bridges that will interconnect the cities with rural America, for example. And I don't know if Joe Biden has got the vision to do that. And I question if he can do that. I really hope he can do that. But I hope he's more competent than Kamala. Kamala is evil, though, I should say. She is pretty bad. She is a Republican in many ways. In her treatment of black people, if she avenges that, then good. But she may be just legalizing weed. No, it's not going to go far enough than just winning an election. She can win 2024. She will. I don't know what kind of agreement there is upon the right wing. I mean, the right wing was wrong in 2020, the left was right in 2020, the left is right in 2024, then yay. The left will predict the left in 2028. I may predict the Barbie doll Ivanka. I may predict the Barbie doll. I will be predicting the Barbie doll in the swamp of Florida to be a part of the swampy Washington, D.C. In these, I got to show you some of the things with Lara Trump. All this stuff that was supposed to go to a dog charity did not go to a dog charity. Oh my God, what a big grifter Donald Trump, and he's forced to pay back $64 million out of $22 million back to his own supporters in pre-checked recurring payments without these people's knowledge and consent. They were very old people, so they're not aware that this was happening. They're not, well acute to handling the technology, to reading all the terms and being able to read the checkbox when they can't see. That's what Trump did. It's a big disappointment. The libertarians, private healthcare, woo, for-profit healthcare, yay. But private Federal Reserve is bad. Libertarians, man, what a joke. Libertarianism is a joke ideology, man. It's a big joke. I don't know if one would ask me which one would I prefer, conservatism or libertarianism. Conservatism is more in the war aspect of libertarianism is for the social aspects, which is why they're libertarian anyways. They want to gut every government program. Today's right wing is very radical. We got to crash again like it's 1929 before FDR. That's what Ivanka Trump has to do. She has to crash America. America can keep on going with corporate bondage. Got to find out the right wing buy from the bank kind of style is going to be economically feasible with low wages, no real infrastructure is what they're trying to do, make America a third world piece of shit kind of country. This far-right libertarian BS that has really infiltrated the population. White people have done themselves with Donald Trump, I tell you. White people got played by Donald Trump. They're just going down even more under Donald Trump. It's because they didn't have a real statesman that can handle a new environment, and Donald Trump is someone that continues with the same styles of hatred and bigotry. And that's why Donald Trump is a nail in a coffin to the GOP that cannot preserve its base at all. Are they going to change the definition of whiteness in America to include some Hispanics is what the Republican Party's got to do. And these are policies that are not popular amongst the people. You want to privatize banks and deregulate what libertarians want to do. Sell third-party derivatives, free market. Yeah, you can do it. Oh my God, libertarians. Market's going to crash. It should be no help from the government at all. Let's make things much worse without any government help, without any government infrastructure plan. What kind of libertarian lunacy would do that? You have to pay for the roads, public toll for the roads. Oh my God, America, what have got yourselves into? a private toll to use your own fucking roads that you pay your taxes for. Unbelievable. Oh my God, what has happened to my country? What has happened to my country? Really, I want to know why it's going even further away from Franklin Delano Roosevelt to extreme measures. Reagan and FDR are extreme polar opposites between the two, and they were a span of 48 years, 1932, 1980. But the right wing had enough of the New Deal. They want to collapse the New Deal, and they want to collapse the left by having it be owed into corporate money too. That's how they've taken over the left. We need to take it back from them. I am just having some very strong confidence and belief that someday people will see through the libertarian scam. But it's a contradiction meant to make the people scared over a phobia of government, the irrational fear to control their thoughts, just real mind control. And well done, libertarians, because I know what your plan is for what you're trying to do to America and to cater to the billionaire groups of this country. And don't think for a second that you will go unnoticed if the people don't wake up about it. Those of us that know the destructive, repetitive economic failures and perpetuated outcomes to benefit the wealthy is all about. And don't think for a second that there's some of us out there who know better, who not care to the propaganda. We're going to see that we need some real change in this country, that we can have any stagnation any further. But then when we have the stagnation, that for every reason out there, the centrist establishment always governs better than the far right establishment, is because they want no government. They want to collapse government, make America a third world country. They want to collapse these institutions that's made America great. I am not about that at all. I'm about reforming American government. We need to have real free thinking people in this country. I don't think there's enough of that in this country. I think that's why America's collapsed. I think that's why our allies are worried. I think that's why they're worried about our pop culture. America will make the world a banana world if it wants to continue to rule like this. I think it should take a stance for science and for the future of our planet and all that. That is what the American government should be encouraging. And is the government up for the task? This is something that FDR would demand for the government to do. The government would take on the role of the economy for the citizens. The government can help create that for its own people. The people must reform the government. The people must overcome the propaganda of the billionaires and the bankers and the paid-for economic shills of their establishment. We need to overcome that. And, if we didn't have a campaign rally, I would be like, hey, we need to do that. But it's quiet hour, so I can't go out in a campaign right now. But this is what we fucking need right now in this country. And there needs to be some real damn fucking change. And it's about time that we return to a time when America was great. And we will work with some of the people out there who are like, well, 1950s was when America was white and racist. You want to bring America back to that time. But you want to tell them that from the aspect of the perspective of what for working people, regardless of the racial makeup, is when the working class is doing well. That's when America is great. And today's date, you just need to eliminate the racial background to it. That America in the 1950s believed it should be all white and all that, and well, today it's American citizen, regardless of background or racial origin, is America. We need to do well for the country. That's what today's identity is about for America, and that we will be number one, and that our individual aspects from the best parts from all of our cultures can contribute to the e pluribus unum, always one. In America, Latin founding fathers adopted Latin in some of its slogans. And the dollar and the Constitution. America is derived from Rome. All roads lead to Rome. America style government is derived from ancient Rome. Founding fathers are really intellectual men who studied their history. They know what kind of society Rome was, and they thought they could change it with limiting, curtailing certain amounts of power, secretarial and executive branch. But then today, it's not enough because the corporate power was never written in the Constitution. This is how you know it was written by billionaires. Constitution was. I will go far as say the Constitution was written by the billionaires. It was written by the rich founding fathers. Rich founding fathers got independence from the British Empire, and the founding fathers then preserved the billionaire wealthy style in America throughout the centuries. And they were under attack by the Roosevelts themselves in the 1933s. And America was on a trajectory way until around 1970 and 1980 hit this country. But yay, private prisons. Libertarians want to privatize the right to confiscate liberty. Oh my God. Privatize the ability to confiscate liberty. Libertarians privatize the state's incentive to lock people up and infringe on their liberty. Come on. Oh my God, this libertarian lunacy. It's absolute nonsense. It's a contradictory ideology for the wealthy. That's what libertarianism is. Unlimited campaign contributions is libertarianism. The Koch brothers written the philosophy and the platforms of the Libertarian Party. The biggest third party in America should might as well be a billionaire front for both parties. Billionaire Time Warner Cable says, Libertarian Party, you can be interviewed on live TV, you can say your platform, Libertarian Party platform, does not harm the wealthy established status quo in this country. I believe the libertarians shall prosper under Ivanka Trump. Trumpets at a distance. What if there's a first trumpet and there isn't a last trumpet? If Florida was able to elect the guy responsible for the largest Medicare fraud in history, we're talking about Rick Scott, got elected governor of Florida right after that, got elected senator of Florida right after that. That's why committing the biggest Medicare fraud in the history of the United States of America. Rick Scott got elected in Florida. Donald Trump is idolized in Florida. The district where Matt Gaetz is from is close enough to Georgia, I believe. Or Majorly Taylor Greene is defending a pedophile Matt Gaetz. A big joke on QAnon. QAnon is defending the pedophiles right now. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. It's insane. QAnon cult exposed. But they will not do anything else about it. It's startling to me. Yeah, we need to privatize everything, but all the fundamental aspect of our ideology, the Federal Reserve, it's the evil private Federal Reserve. The libertarians admit that private is bad. Private Federal Reserve, but your freedom to do it if you're in healthcare or if you're in pharmaceuticals or whatnot. See what the Libertarian Party is all about? They're all about the billionaires. They're about the freedom to exploit the marketplace with regulations and barriers that you should not be able to exploit the marketplace without knowingly sacrificing the health of the people. This is one of the very few problems, of many problems of which that I have with libertarianism. And I can talk about many of them. The next one, I talked about it, about the right to life, but they're infringing on the liberties of people when they want to privatize prisons, for example. That kind of libertarian. That's one of the many problems we have with libertarians. Need a real pathway, a real platform to benefit working people would not include many of the fringe libertarian beliefs. We would want to have the most socially optimal healthcare system and criminal justice system without incentive for profit, which is what I have a problem with the Republican Party, and then the Libertarian Party, likewise, I have a problem with them for that. But this is one of the big problems I have with this. It's just such a big, giant threat right now that you have a very sociopathic president. Yes, a very sociopathic president. Donald Trump. He could care less if people were dying from COVID-19 out there. He had no intention of getting rampant testing out there. Donald Trump betrayed his oath to preserve the Constitution and to protect the people from all threats, domestic and outside, including from the Chinese government. This is just the problem with these right-wing nuts, is all. Chinese virus, but you don't want to wear a mask and protect yourself from the Chinese virus. You want China to prosper with American death. That's what you want China to do. You guys are propaganda. You want China to weaken America. You wanted China to weaken America without social distancing. You wanted to make America's COVID recovery as weak and bad and as much of a struggle as possible. You just can't fool me on this game. Many of the people are believing in Chinese state propaganda from Trump himself. He owes money to China. Banks are coming due in 2023 with Donald Trump's many creditors. Donald Trump is going to be dead. Okay, Trump will be dead. It could be start World War III as far as we know. And Trump is going down in one way or the other. Georgia election fraud, or they're just going to sweep this under the rug and not even prosecute it. I wonder why that's outside the news. Why is that outside the news? Why isn't Matt Gaetz right now? Why is the media trying to do that to help Donald Trump? Why don't we want to talk about that? We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about his case with Georgia, in which he tried to bribe, intimidate, and to flip 14,000 votes, trying to cheat the election. But no, we're not all about that. We're not about justice in America, are we? We're not about that at all. And enough is enough. Stop letting Trump get off the hook. You did it with Bush. You refused to impeach him. Guys are a disgrace. Bush and his CIA torture. It's incredible. Modern Republican Party, the corruption goes as far back as China Nixon. Okay, Nixon was the guy who sold America to China. Nixon was the guy who had the meeting uh, with Mao Zedong in China. He had the meeting with the Chinese dictator Mao to open up America to corporations, help change China land. That's what Mao did to America. That's how Nixon sold America to the foreign outsiders. And any guy after him, Jimmy Carter was focusing too much on the Middle East. He made peace in the Middle East. He wasn't really focused on China, and China's just waiting for the oil companies to rig the supply of oil so they can make Jimmy Carter look bad, so they can say, oh, the left is a failure in America, and that you give Reagan and his billionaire tax cuts, you explode the deficit. You give right-wing Clinton, Reagan Democrats, they elect Bill Clinton. And you wonder why the 90s sucked in America, that 1980s was the best, and it was over after that. In terms of the makeup of the people who come from the 1940s, 1950s, 60s, and it just was further back ever since the 1990s after we got out of Vietnam. But after we got out of Vietnam is when we wanted to confiscate the wealth of our citizens in this country. It's a very fundamental aspect that I have, that it is very conservative style policies that are driving this country back. It's time we put an end to it. We need a wide array of infrastructure in this country today. We need to tax the wealthy, but that is not being done. Biden said that we're going to borrow to do that. He better transform our infrastructure system. 2015 bill with Obama did not even reach the trillion. But is a trillion going to be enough? A little over a trillion to 2 trillion. Is that going to be enough to fund the infrastructure? What if there's not enough spending, not enough tax raises for the wealthy? What if it's not enough spending? It's not enough spending happened at the end of the 2008 crash. A progressive outsider will be able to note some things that are not happening well. If that includes the amount of government money, if that includes the lack of taxation of the wealthy that is happening because of leadership under the Democratic establishment, then there'd be some big reasons why America would be looking as chaotic as ever around 2028. The best way of government can be to have a dynastic left wing, like it was under FDR, when the government transformed American life ever since the FDR years, 1930 to 1980. That was the best period for America. America was becoming the best working middle, most prosperous, freest society of the world before the billionaires took over the thoughts of the people. That's what we got to transform America against. And I hope you can join me in this way of thought because nothing's going out there. And I can certainly talk about a bread and circus aspect with the decline and the rise of the bread and circus that has happened ever since the 1980s for the NBA and for MLS. You know, NBA, the NBA for sure, and the NFL throughout the 1980s for sure. Joe Montana, all that. Yes, yes, yes. That will be noted a lot. And I hope to talk more about that because it happened throughout the 1990s too, through NAFTA. And so that aspect we begin to cover with the lack of progressive policy for this country. And so I'm going to let you know where that all started with. I'm trying to exit out of my stream. I finished all pretty much that I needed to say. And I branched it onto many other topics. I hope you enjoyed this lecture.